Welcome to Nonprofit Support Group, brought to you by Nonprofit Tech Shop and hosted by Mandy and Karen. Get ready to learn, share, grow, and hopefully laugh through the chaos. Welcome to another episode of the Nonprofit Support Group. Good to have you guys here. It's me, Karen. I'm here with Mandy, and as we do, we start with our sips. Mandy, what do you have today?
I know. We say sports and sips, but I guess it's sips and sports. But
Yeah, sips
um,
and sports.
today, because we've been a bit boring and like you can't put a sip segment into a podcast and then only drink coffee and water every week. I mean, coffee and water are an essential part of any healthy diet, as we all know. But today I went a little bit more interesting. So I am having not more interesting than you, Karen. We're not comparing here. Okay. This is just more
Probably
interesting
more
than myself. I'm
interesting than
I'm
me.
competing with myself. Okay. So we've got a low caffeine green tea because I've been trying to be a little more balanced in my caffeine consumption. And I don't know about the
Okay.
rest of y'all, but like as I've gotten older slash younger, I cannot have as much caffeine without feeling jittery. So of course, green tea brings the L-theanine with it to help balance things out. And my stomach, the high acidity of coffee, as much as I love coffee, is also, the system can only take so much. So we have I think Kayabancha is how you would pronounce it. Maybe not. Sorry
Oh,
for any Japanese friends out there that I just butchered that maybe. But yeah, exciting. And so I've got my cute little teapot,
very cute teapot.
little handmade teapot and little teacup.
I don't
So we
know. I
are,
think you are more interesting than me, even though you were saying you weren't talking about me. I am
yeah, you maybe should
on
have
the
gone
boring
first.
side. I should have. I've got drip coffee that I was in a rush to make, and then I poured some milk in there, and I had the nice surprise of getting frothed milk because my wife had shaken up the milk. So, and I had gotten it right after her, so I had all this foamy milk come on top. So it feels decadent, even though it is absolutely not.
Hey, that's, you know what? And that's, you got a different cup. What's the cup you got going
So
on
this
there?
is actually a teacup. You should get one of these if you do loose leaf teas. It comes with this little basket that you can put in there, put the teas in, and you cover it. But I also use it as my coffee mug, so it
Does she
goes
know
both
that you're
ways.
abusing her
She
teacup with
does.
coffee? Okay.
Well, no,
All right.
this is mine. I had to buy my own because I was doing that to hers.
Oh, well, fair.
Yeah,
Good
yeah,
call, Carla, on not letting,
I
it's
know.
it's that was smart on her part. Okay. So
She is smart.
we love she is smart. She's a very smart one. So we love that. We're here for it. Okay, so on to sports because we have a lot of sports to talk about. And I know you're not just here for this, but my goodness, what a week. So first of all, tonight it's not officially the start of the season, but exhibition game for NCAA women's indoor volleyball. We are stoked about that because we are big women's sports fans in general. I found the sports bar actually. I got to remember the name of it, but it's somewhere over here in like Brooklyn, Williamsburg, where I'm hanging out for the month. And so that Spikes Under the Lights, which is, we'll get to that in a second, on the 27th, I have found the women's sports bar that I'm going to watch that at. Yes.
Ooh, that's gonna be
So
awesome.
I think it's over. Actually, I'll have to figure out where I saw it, but I'm going to find it. It's called, I don't even remember what it's called, but I'm going to find it because there unfortunately aren't going to be that many, even in a
I was gonna
city
say
like,
it's
yeah,
not gonna be hard to Google it because I
yeah,
even in a city as busy and packed as New York, I don't think they'll have many of them.
there aren't going to be that many. But tonight, we've got the Texas Longhorns taking on the Golden Gophers of Minnesota in an exhibition match, which is really exciting. So I am so stoked to get so just so y'all know, we're recording this on Monday, August 10th. So when you hear this, that's when it happened. But really stoked for that. And then that brings up an interesting thing. Like, we're here to talk about nonprofit stuff, but nonprofits are often all about like, some sort of mission, some sort of cause, often righting some sort of wrong or filling a gap that's been left behind. And so an interesting one, not necessarily nonprofit related, but right, there's been a huge evolution in college sports in general, women's and men's, and that's with NIL, right? Name, image, and likeness, the ability to make money and get paid as a college athlete, which of course has been way more equitable to the athletes because the colleges were making so much money off of these athletes and the athletes were making nothing. But it has also created a whole bunch of transfers as people move from school to school to school to cash in the most that they can. And again, it's available. We don't blame the athletes for this, right? Like for a lot of them, they're never going to have an opportunity professionally. I mean, if you look at WNBA has always been the most, and we'll get there today too, the most viable as far as actually having a real, better than the NWSL, I think, of having a real paycheck. And they just started getting real money. Still not totally relative to what they do, but real money better than what they were significantly, right? And so for a lot of these, especially female college athletes, the money you're going to make is going to be in college. So like, okay, why not? But they recently, so right as I'm looking at like Longhorns, it's not my favorite team. I did not go to school in Texas, but I do for a volleyball team. I like them. I like their coach. I like their program. And so when I hear like going to be, led by, Kari Spears, who's a sophomore anyways, but like Tori Stafford, and you're like, man, she was at the end of last season. That was her last season. And now they're going to be led by her again because of this whole 5-and-5 rule. So Karen, like that's been, explain to folks what it is, because some of you might be seeing this if you're college sports fans at all. Like, wait a second, this senior's coming back again. Why would you, right? And NIL again, and that money is why you might not want to leave college so that you get another season. Like, hey, do your graduate degree, get that covered as part of your scholarship, and continue to make NIL money. But yeah, how is 5-and-5 working, and how's it impacting the landscape?
Yeah, so essentially just very recently they came out with this change where athletes can now play 5 seasons within a 5-year window. And for anyone familiar with college sports in the past, it used to be 4 years. There's red shirts, so if you get injured or if you're not going to get playing time, you could sit out a season and essentially stay in college for 5 years but play 4. But now you're getting a whole other year of eligibility, which is just completely new. To your point with name and image and likeness, people are transferring a lot. Great to get your opportunity. You're never going to have a bigger brand than a Big Ten school or SEC behind you if you're not going to go play professionally, so you can't blame them for that. But something that I've been seeing, and I used to coach college basketball at the Division II level, I've seen girls in high school who are accepting scholarships to go to Division I school, wherever, and within the last week, so early August, girls have gotten their scholarships rescinded who are going to be freshmen in college because someone who is, exercising their 5-and-5 decides to transfer at the last minute. And as a coach, you can't really fault the coach for wanting a more seasoned veteran, someone who's played 4 years already. Like, that makes sense. But the mechanisms and the way that all this is being managed, to your point, Mandy, similar with NIL, like it's just causing a slew of downstream impacts. So that's what I'm seeing.
And that's the thing you've got to think about, right? And I'm sure there will be, hey, for any of you out there who are maybe thinking of a new nonprofit to start, maybe this is one that's going to be needed, because now what you're doing is like, okay, it's a little bit interesting to put this professionalism, let's call it, on college students, because while they're adults, they're still little, they're still little bambinis. They're babies. Yeah. They're still figuring this out. But now through the downstream effects, like you said, now we're putting this responsibility on. Is everyone who graduates high school even 18 yet? I don't know. Barely adults legally, right? So like now you're putting this high school senior essentially in this, and we'll have to see in future seasons what types of, obviously there's going to be a massive onslaught the first year that it's available, right?
Yeah.
But is this going to continue? It'll continue every year, but is it going to be at this level? And what's going to happen because if you think about, right, someone who that happens to right now, how many other scholarships did you pass up? Did you have academic scholarships that you could have taken? And now what are you still going to enroll in this school and pay? Are you expected to walk on? Like, it's just a super, it's a super irresponsible thing, I think, to have done this and not have some sort of protection for incoming, for people who had already had it. Like, hey, okay, great, you can keep this person, but if you've awarded your scholarship, you've awarded your scholarship, right? Like,
I agree.
And plus you've got all this NIL money. You have the boosters give them money and they can pay for their own damn tuition. Like, why screw over these kids? Like, it just seems so reckless.
It's reckless. It's, the NCAA was always kind of faux amateurism always, even before NIL. People were getting paid under the table. They were always pushing the like, these are student athletes, they're here for school. But, at the end of the day, especially at the higher levels, they're not. And now they're really leaning into this is not amateurism anymore. But for an 18-year-old, it still kind of is. So
It is.
once
Okay.
again, and this does go with nonprofits, systemic issues, things that, if you don't get
Yes.
to the root of the problem, you're not going to solve it.
It feels very, I mean, and some of these schools are nonprofits, right? Like they might
Yeah,
not be
exactly.
501c3s, but maybe they are. But okay. And one other, let's just do a quick mention of this because I think we have sports and sipped a
I
lot
know.
today, which I love. But I'm glad we recorded today because we have two big, awesome things that happened in the WNBA, which we love, of course. So not only do we have Chelsea Gray with not one, but two buzzer beaters to win against the Fever, right? That was the Fever, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that was
Chelsea Gray hit a three to take it into overtime, and then she hit another three at the end of overtime. So the first
crazy.
time in WNBA history that somebody has hit two buzzer beaters at both end of regulation and overtime to win a game. So Chelsea Gray, the truth. But, and I know you already know this, we had another record broken.
Last
Did you know
night,
that? Yeah. Well,
K-Mac.
yeah, K-Mac.
Yeah, no, Kayla McBride, 10 threes in a game. That is 10 made threes. I don't think I've ever shot 10 threes in a game. I sure have not made 10 threes in a game. Insane. She's just been super consistent forever. And the Lynx, I would not want to match up with them. That team is loaded. I don't know how they
Man.
had the second or third pick in the draft, whatever it was, but ooh, they are on fire.
Yeah, I got Lynx in five. We aren't even to playoffs yet, but I got Lynx
Does
in five.
doesn't even matter who's in it. Lynx is gonna sweep the whole thing. I totally
Yeah,
agree.
it is, man, with Fee back, Queen Fee, like it's gonna be the spectacle. Did you see her half court shot? Like,
I
come on,
did.
like just for funsies.
Yeah.
Like,
No, it's not fair. I gotta
yeah, I mean,
say.
lucky for everyone else. Who was the forward that where did she end up? The one who's been with them forever and she got traded. Did she get traded to the Sparks? Did she go to, hold on. Let's see this. So links forward traded last season. Let me see. Um, no, not Dejanay Carrington. No, maybe she's not a forward. Maybe she is the five?
Was it Jess Shepard? Was she on the Lynx?
Yes, yes, Jess Shepard.
Yeah, no, she's killing it for the Wings. Like
Yeah. Okay,
better
wings. I
than
am.
better than Paige, better than Agumbawale. She's their MVP.
Yeah, no, she's absolutely the one because she was the. No, 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 not her. I'll think of it later. No, but she's also killing it. But yeah, if you could imagine if they still had everybody, but then they might not have had they might not
That's
have picked
true.
up Miles. But anyhow, exciting time to be watching WNBA games, folks. So hopefully you are tuning in. But now we can get to the meat of this and what we're here for with today. So nonprofit news. So this one is just kind of like news in the nonprofit world, things to think about. I know that there are a lot of nonprofits that work with with those impacted by ICE arrests, but something to just, when we don't always think about the today's theme, like downstream effects,
Downstream.
right? We got the downstream. We could say trickle down and poke fun at how that only
We
works with bad things and not good ones, but um pick your poison. But a report that came from the Immigration Research Initiative found that the ICE arrests are not only decreasing jobs for immigrants, but also for U.S. born workers. So for every 1,000 arrests that ICE makes, we see a 2.5% decline in employment for immigrants and a 0.5% decline in employment for non-immigrants, for U.S. born citizens. And so aside from all of this just being morally corrupt and awful in the way it's executed, leading to executions, and how terrible all of that is, it has a real effect on the economy, guys. And that's a no-brainer, and we all know that. And that some of that really sad is like a decrease in foot traffic for businesses. So thinking about the businesses that are getting impacted, businesses that people come into,
Yep.
which are usually the businesses with the smallest margins, with the lowest like room for error, because people don't want to leave their houses and get arrested. So
Even people who are
administration,
here legally, which is
yeah,
this even more sad.
yeah, because I mean that doesn't guarantee you anything, right? You get wrongfully arrested, how long might you sit in a detention center? So people are scared. They're not going out as much, they're not spending as much money, and that's having a real economic impact. And that measurement is only employment. What is
Yeah.
happening to the actual businesses that are shuttering because of a lack of foot traffic?
Foot traffic, and then you tie in just the cost of living right now and just prices all around going up. I think to your point, and I think we'll continue to say this today, it'll take a few years, more than that even, to see what the downstream effects of this really are, and not just one layer removed, two, three, four, 5 layers removed. I think it's going to be really substantial and not good. And whoever the next administration is going to have a lot to clean up and try to make right and turn around, because this ship, I think, is going the wrong direction.
Absolutely going the wrong direction. And that with the reminder, because it'll be here before we know it, make sure that you vote.
Yep. Yeah,
We got
we'll
the
keep plugging that when we get closer.
midterms. Make sure you vote. All right, Karen, what we got going on with the Reddit readout?
Well, I've been redditing because that's like my side gig. So I found an interesting one though. So when we do the Reddit readout, we're looking for people out there in this world that are having conversations online that are relevant. And I thought this one was interesting. It's about AI in grant writing, and we will have the link to this particular post so that you guys can check it out. But in summary, it's a question that a lot of nonprofits are kind of wrestling with right now. Like, where does AI actually help, and where does it hurt? And so for this post, there's a nonprofit pro who's asking about AI tools for things like grant writing and just communications overall. And the discussion is not about like, is AI good or bad? It's really about like, how are organizations using AI to actually improve their work? And are we just using it? And I think this goes across industry and into life. Are we using it to create shortcuts and generic messaging? And is it just weakening overall our ability to communicate? So very interesting post. I thought brings up some really good questions. I think these are, aside from the is AI good or bad, and like, are we using all of our fresh water? If we come to this one, I think this is one of the biggest questions I have about AI. And so I'm curious what you think when you were checking this out and seeing some of the comments as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think what's so hard is, I mean, it gets down to the crux of a couple of issues with AI, right? So, of course, there's always the environmental issue and resource issue. And that issue also coincides with an issue with just what we get out of it as well. And it makes you wish that there was some way that we could require certain inputs to even prompt so that we're not being so wasteful, because we see this problem no matter what industry or content creation or really any problem solving effort is, when you don't define, like, AI will not replace thinking. I will say that again. AI will not replace thinking. It will not replace understanding the context of the problem that you're solving or the inputs and variables that need to be considered to solve it. And so if we were to, for grant writing, for blog writing, for any other proposal writing, if we are to put in all of the parameters, the variables, and think through and ask the questions, then we would put those in and we would get something quality out, and we wouldn't be wasting prompt after prompt after prompt. If we don't do that, then we're always going to be wasteful.
Yep.
And so this is the exact type of thing that happens everywhere. This is in the work that we do with solving tech problems and marketing problems. You will, and this is why when people are like, oh, AI is going to replace what your business does, I'm like, it sometimes takes months to get stakeholders to answer questions and to know what their business processes are. AI can't do that for you. Yep. You've got to be able to give it something. Now, if everyone knew how to give it what it needed, then yeah, like watch out.
So.
But that's what we know is that the gap isn't the actual like pressing the buttons and building things. Like, yeah, there are some gaps there and there are some technical things, but with like MCPs and ways to access systems without having to do custom integrations like you used to, even that gap is shrinking.
Mm-hmm.
But the gap is that understanding of what is the problem that you're solving and the inputs that impact the problem you're solving. And so when it comes to grant writing, if you do that, you're going to get something useful that still needs to be refined by a human. And
Yep.
preferably don't use Chat GPT for a number of reasons, but also that it just gives the most like M dash emoji filled, like obviously AI, well, it's this and this and this, like that, that formulaic type of output.
It's the worst.
But you've got to read through stuff, but also like, what are you putting into it? And starting off with using it, again, not only for a better output, but a more responsible, like we are all now responsible for how we use AI, right? Because it will allow us to put shit in and get shit out, which means we are now the ones using the power at the data centers. We are the ones wasting water. They're going to make the data centers. AI is going to exist for now, right? And so how we all use it. So it's like define everything first and then ask AI to ask, hey, here's what I'm trying to do. Am I missing any answers?
Yeah.
Am I missing any questions? Then you do the refining and then send that back in to get what you need and then work through that. So smarter usage of it. Yes, it's going to allow you to expedite some things and potentially have a quality output, but the concern in the comments and in the post itself is like, yeah, it's allowing. And then what we're also wasting is the time of the people who are deciding these grants, because now they're having to look there. And guess what they're going to do then? They're going to start plugging them all into AI, and it's going to be a big AI,
Yep,
and a waste of actual resources that we need. So that's my
we're all just
2 cents.
We're giving up the thing that differentiates us from AI is our expertise, our lived experience. And so when we're using it to take that part out of a process, for instance, writing a grant, it really is detrimental. It's great for making something more efficient, what's something you repeatedly have to do. But when it comes to the industry knowledge, the expertise, telling the story, no one is going to do better at that when you're writing for an audience that's a human than a human. So you got to put that amount in. It's not going to, we can't put on AI to make it quicker to think for us. We've got to do the thinking part. And I think you're right too about people, in this particular process with like someone reading a grant application, reading a job, like a resume, like if you start to see AI slop, you're not even going to get looked at. So you got to put the extra time in. It's a very interesting Reddit post though, so make sure you check it out. Go comment. There was a lot of really good activity on there. Next, we want to move on to some good news. The hero of the week, Mandy.
Yeah, so we found a nonprofit in the DC area called Brighter Bites, and I love what they're doing. Because since 2018, they have served more than 60,000 families, 30,000 children in the DC area. Prince George's County and DC, and have distributed over 4 million pounds of produce to families. So, why do we love this? Number one, bringing food, not only food, but healthy, nutritious food that in food deserts, or just maybe you aren't even in a food desert, but you don't have, fruits and vegetables are very expensive. And so being able to provide this very nutritious food, helping to level the playing field in that way, because these do impact our, how we feel internally, the things that we're able to do, like focus, all of that. Like if we're just eating sugar and processed stuff, it's going to make it harder to thrive in school. So I love that in general, but also during the summer, ramping things up is super important because, right, like a lot of kids are dependent on, within the US, it's actually a very sad percentage that are dependent on meals that are provided through funding of the schools because families are not able to afford food, and sad because we don't do any better than that as a system, not because of the families, obviously. But they have been ramping things up even more because not only does the summer make it harder, but the cut to SNAP benefits by this administration who just really loves to take aim at the most vulnerable in our society has had a massive impact. Horrible downstream effects. So, Brighter Bites increasing the pickup places where folks can get access for food and being able to increase the amount of food they're giving out to help with not only the summer months, but SNAP benefits being cut is really important. And I think that we need, we've worked with various food banks throughout our time working with nonprofits, and it's just such a critical, absolutely critical service that's provided.
Absolutely. The number of families and children that go hungry every day is in the United States. I mean, anywhere it's unacceptable, but it's crazy to read, and absolutely agree on the summer months being extremely tough because schools fill that gap a lot of the time. So definitely love organizations like this. And with produce, with all the mass produced produce and the issues with cyclo whatever, the bad lettuce bacteria that's going around, buying local produce is one way to get around that. So that's definitely a great story. Happy that you found that one, Mandy.
Absolutely. No, and donate to your local food bank if you can, because super important. All right. So Karen, talk to me about the problem of the day that we have. This is going to tie into our tech talk piece as well. So yeah.
Yeah. So our problem of the day, this is usually where we start getting into some of the tech sides of things and challenges that people face at nonprofits that we also just see a lot of the time when we're working with folks in this space. So I'm going to say these words and it might make you shiver because everyone has it. Dirty data. Every nonprofit has it. That's usually the start of every conversation I have with one, whether it's a migration or cleaning up what they're in right now. Dirty data is always a problem. So, I was thinking for this conversation, Mandy, how can we, if we were going to kind of standardize how we look at how you can address this, what are some of the strategies? So, for instance, if the problem already exists, how do you address it? And then two, this is maybe the bigger question: how can you sustainably address it moving forward, and put things in place so that you're not constantly looking back at your database and seeing how dirty everything is. You've got things in place that are helping to clean things up. You've got processes for data entry that help keep things clean. What do you see on your side, and what are some strategies that work in your opinion?
Yeah, no, great question. I think that we have a couple of things we need to look at, a few things. So number one, it starts with architecture. So how is our data going to relate, and what data is going to drive processes? Because that's going to be the most important data, which is going to bring me into my next point, which is really understanding what you need and don't need. Because a lot of times what we have, and we see this especially in the nonprofit world because people are so disciplined and they work hard at this, but when you have too many things, when everything's an emergency, nothing's an emergency. And so when there are too many things you have to do, then the things that you actually need, and it's not to say that let people off the hook, but you're always going to have processes or things that fall through the cracks, hopefully less than more, but you are. And so if you really understand what drives the functioning of your data for what it needs to do for reporting, for decision making, for mailing things out, whatever it is, what's critical, and then make sure you're clear on that. And that all of the relationships and how everything is set up to enter and organize that data is as easy as possible and as intuitive as possible. That's going to set you up to win to begin with, right? And then what can you, a system that is armed with strong automations is really going to help you so that if a new record, contact record, household record, company record, transaction, donation record gets created and something is missing, well, depending on the system you use, don't allow it to get created without all the data. So someone can't even put it in.
Yep.
Right? When you're creating a record in HubSpot, for example, you can require certain fields or properties so you don't allow it to get created incorrectly to begin with.
Yep.
And then the other part of that is to automatically flag pull lists, right? So you set up views what are all of the new contacts? What are all of the new households that are missing this? And then check that every day. Have an automated email sent to check that every day. If you have, a new contact that goes for a week without this information being put in, flag a manager, right? All of these little kind of we think often with our CRMs or our central platforms about automations being for marketing or automations being for reporting, for data cleanup, which is another thing, like have your automations clean data up. That's another
Yep.
great way to keep your data clean. Copying properties, clearing properties, but flagging things and sending those internal notifications, having your static lists that add and remove people to them, and you check those lists and have automated emails and notifications so that somebody knows someone else is going to see it if they don't clean it up. Sometimes those little types of automations for accountability can really help with keeping data clean.
Absolutely. It kind of touches on what we were talking about with AI and grant writing. There's always going to be human intervention. So remembering that's the case, we can't just turn automations on and expect it to keep everything clean and have rose-colored glasses on about our data. But making it easy to do those manual checks is really important. So I love that call out. And then your point about architecture, I see this quite a bit. At the end of the day, if you start building your CRM without knowing what questions you're trying to ask it in the end, you're going to end up upset every single time. So I think that's a really important call out. So I think that's a great conversation. And, I think it segues beautifully. Who set up this agenda to segue so well, Mandy?
I know. It's almost
Segues
like
nicely.
it's almost like we're okay at this.
Yeah, it's almost like we did this. Well, it works for us because next we're going to get into our tech talk. So, Mandy, I'm going to hand it over to you because I know you're really excited to jump into this and show people rather than us just talk about it.
Yeah, so this ties in, like Karen said, it ties in really well to dirty data. And one place where our data gets a bit messy is around marketing and our campaigns. And for nonprofits, a lot of, right, a lot of y'all are raising funds. Marketing is a big part of what you do. Your appeals go out in different ways, one to many via marketing emails, one to one via one-to-one emails, or calling people, whatever that may be. And so HubSpot has always had a really great campaign tool that allowed you to bring in a lot of different marketing assets to track your data in one place. They recently upgraded this. I don't know if it's still in beta or not, but the marketing studio. So number one, right, like we get this type of whiteboard type of experience to plan using sticky notes. These are cards. I'm not going to go too much into the weeds on this, but cards allow you to plan something out and then convert the card into an actual asset for website or whatever. So then you actually have all of the assets here. You can organize them with little arrows that connect things and whatnot. But what it really is about is getting all of your data together. So rather than having to, you do still need UTMs and whatnot. But typically when we go down, and we've been working with our team on this, this is actually a campaign that we are working on for nonprofits. And so keep an eye out for content. We're actually going to share content about building and managing campaigns in HubSpot using our own campaign. So
Very meta.
this is what, yeah. So you're going to get to see how our marketing works. We're going to show you what we're up to. Who knows? You might even end up here because one of our campaigns that you came in through. So we'll be even more meta then. Look at us go. But being able to organize, like for so long, like working through tools like Google Tag Manager and all of these different platforms, you get all of this great data, but bringing it all together to actually understand what assets moved the needle and how much, how many, website visitors did you get? How many new leads did you get, or new contacts on your email list? How much revenue? And so what we're able to do here is actually add, look at Karen making, hold on. This is,
Wait
this
a
is
minute.
for,
We must have just sent out
yeah.
an email.
Yeah, no, we're getting, sorry, y'all, you're getting our live. This is what it looks like to
Go
actually see what's
marketing
happening in your
team.
campaign,
Oh my
though. Oh my
gosh.
gosh, how do I, um,
Next time we
anyhow,
will silence these. Good
yeah,
reminder.
like the timing is hilarious, but we can add social posts, we can add them from HubSpot or external sources. We can add our forms, our ad campaigns, ad groups, specific ads, CTAs, marketing emails, marketing events, WhatsApp messages. We can add blogs, case studies, knowledge base, landing page, podcast episodes. We can add different segments from the CRM. We can add workflows and sequences. Now we can add sales and service things. So we can add feedback surveys, calls that you're having, meetings, one-to-one emails. So instead of just the marketing emails, like I send Karen a direct email like, hey, are you going to pledge your yearly $1,000 again this year? Bringing all of this together so all of the data comes to one place And if we need to do UTMs, we can do that. So we can pull things that are existing, or as you can see, these are all of the things we can create new. Look, Carrie, did you see this Reddit post?
Haven't seen that one.
We're going to take that offline.
There is always something new when you demo in HubSpot.
Yeah, I was today years old that I learned that one. But we can add all of these things to our campaigns to understand how everything is working. So a scheduling page, like if you're letting people schedule and you're using a meeting link, because you should be using those because it's going to make it easier to talk to your big donors, and they're going to appreciate not having to go back and forth with you because they are probably busy people. Sequences where we're working on getting somebody on the phone. Maybe this is for sponsorship. So being able to bring all of this together in a visual place is great, because then we can organize, we can go from ideation to actual deployment of these campaigns in one place. So that's amazing. But being able to then go in and report and manage everything, right? Because then we can also see what campaigns are running, what assets need to be done where, et cetera, et cetera. But then this campaign hasn't launched yet. But seeing our revenue attribution, what have we spent, setting our campaign goal, contact life cycles, website traffic, influence contacts, everything that is happening, choosing what our attribution model is going to be, right? And looking at different assets. Like if you take a look at all of these things, you can look at deals that are created. So all of these other types of reports are right out of the box. You can do your planning and spending. So it is so powerful to be able to see what is happening within our campaigns, and to be able to see that without having to go in and create all of these different reports and dashboards and bring everything together. Because, for example, I might have a CTA that I use in a lot of different campaigns, right? So understanding how it impacts that campaign and bringing in all of your buttons, all of your landing pages, all of your forms, all of your emails, all of your social posts, all of your ads, all the phone calls, all of these things is just going to be very, very, very powerful for you to be able to understand how everything is contributing to your campaigns and having clean data without having to do all of this technical setup, which with how far stretched marketing teams are in the nonprofit space, this is something really powerful for you. So we recently did a webinar on this. We're going to have more content coming up. You can follow. We're going to be sharing, if you subscribe to our emails, we're going to be sharing how we are building our campaign and how we are tracking everything and the actual results that are coming through. So you're going to be able to see, and we'll have paid advertising running to this and all that. So you'll be able to see how all that works together on our campaign as well. And we'll keep touching on this. We'll bring it back to the podcast. But that's what I've got today for our tech talk. You know, make it easy to organize everything. You've got stuff everywhere. Look at how many things you could bring in there, right? We've got YouTube videos, TikTok videos, Reddit posts, Instagram, emails. Like, why not make this very easy to all come together in one place to understand how collectively you're influencing revenue, contacts, and whatever, rather than trying to stitch it all together across all of these different platforms and sources, which, let me tell you this, as someone who has worked with a lot of organizations, most people aren't doing it.
Yeah, no, it's really an incredibly powerful tool. There's a lot of aha moments when you see it. So if anyone's catching this on the YouTube channel and you're actually seeing what the marketing studio looks like, I'm curious if you had an aha moment. But it's interesting with marketing teams. You know, in our space, we talk to, lots of stakeholders, lots of different teams, and there's tons of disparate systems. But even when you just go into one department, we're using Hootsuite for social. We're using, this for landing pages and web pages. We're hosted on, our CMS is WordPress. We use there's just so many things that even one department is using. So any way that you can centralize things, have things be visible to everybody, have it be easy to, as you said, go from, ideating to actually executing, the more efficient you're going to be, and your executives will be a lot happier because they're going to have more data to look at.
And the more contextualized the data is, because when we're pulling all these systems together to try to get everything into Google Analytics, a lot of times it's UTMs and keywords. And so then we're also having to make sense of what the data is that's coming in. So, which is great. It's really powerful. And there was a time when that was the only way to do it. And the fact that we could do it at all was amazing. And there are still use cases where that's the best way to analyze something. But for the vast majority of us, this is going to answer the mail. It's going to be way more than we're already doing. And we're going to make better decisions, which is the end of the day. And we're going to know what's working. the end of the day, that's what we want to track things and report on them,
Yeah.
because we want to know what's working, and we want to make decisions about what's not working and change it and test and see if those changes are working, et cetera, et cetera. So
Are you
making that
saying
easier to do.
we want to see the downstream effects?
We
Because
want to
that
see the
is the
downstream
episode.
effects.
I
That's
think
what
we
we just
tied it
named
together.
yeah, downstream effects.
Yep, that's the name of the episode. We came into it with no name. We're leaving with one. Mandy, that was a great tech talk. I'm excited to dive more into that. I'm excited to host another one of these with you shortly and dive into more challenges, wins, and all of the things in between that nonprofit folks are dealing with. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank y'all, and we'll see you soon. We had a little, we had technical difficulties.
We did, but we'll be back on a regular cadence. Excited to chat with you guys.